Because if we cover his nostrils, he's going to suffocate and the director's dead, the film's dead. You know what I mean?
This is definitely something you need to do with people that you trust.
Not pull out any of Aiden's hairs or his eyebrows or anything like that or cause any extra pain.
And he's going to break out in hives because that would be great.
Good to know before we put it over my entire face and ruin my life. One of the reasons why I decided to do it myself is because I didn't want to put an actor through something that I didn't understand myself. So now on future projects, if I get someone to do this, I know exactly what you're going through. And yeah, I know that it's not easy.
So this is my first time doing a full face cast on someone.
Today, Aiden and Vicky have asked me to come down and assist them do some prosthetics of Aiden's face for his new production.
Before the process started, Vicky told me I'm not allowed to make any facial expressions at all. I just have to keep a neutral face the entire time.
Yeah, I was really happy and excited to come down and do something I haven't done before.
So our first step is to put a small dab of our product, which is Oddbod, onto Aiden's skin. It's a fast-drying silicone, so we'll put a dab on Aiden's skin first just to make sure he's not allergic.
As far as I know, I'm not allergic to anything, but you never know with these things, and good to know before we put it over my entire face and ruin my life.
The next step in the process will be just slicking Aiden's hair back so it's sort of out of the way. I'm also going to put a little bit of cling wrap on it just to protect the majority of his hair from, we'll be using plaster and silicone, so we want to try and protect his hair as much as we can. So once his hair's good and covered, we're going to put some Vaseline on his eyebrows and his eyelashes and any kind of hair on his face, and any kind of hair on his sideburns and things that might still be in the way. And the Vaseline will stop the silicone from sticking so we don't rip any of his hair out. So next up we're going to apply the Oddbod silicone to his face, and it's a very goopy process, so you kind of like got to do two people at once because it's fast setting and it's very goopy, so you've got to try and get it in all the right spots.
One of the challenging bits was to just try and work quick. Like Vicky said, you got to kind of work very fast because it dries very fast, so we wanted to try and cover everything we could, make sure there's no gaps or holes and just get it done fast.
Almost as soon as it starts, you start, I wanted to blink, I wanted to like swallow, I wanted to, move my neck and things like that, and it's just these little things that you can't do.
Me and Vicky also don't want to cause any distress or problems to the actual person getting it done. So, we're also trying to do it in a nice and caring way, making sure we're trying to keep asking Aiden if he's okay, he can breathe okay, everything's fine, and just make sure he's helping the actor through the process too to make sure they're okay. That was always very important.
We're doing that and applying it around his eyes at first.
First thing they do is bring the goop over your eyes, and that's when you sort of realize that you're in it now. It's begun.
We've got to go across his mouth, of course. The most important thing, which I will be watching out for, is making sure we don't cover his nostrils. We'll do that first layer, cover as much as we can. We'll let that dry. It's about a 5-minute dry time. Once that first layer is feeling quite dry, we're going to go in and do the second layer.
I kind of liked throughout the process how Vicky kept vocalizing the fact that she was paying attention to my nostrils and, not to cover them up with goop or plaster or anything like that. And it's just, little things like that just reassured me that, there was the attention to detail.
So second layer, our main goal is to cover any gaps and kind of smooth everything out a bit. But also we want to reinforce around the nose, around the eyes, around the mouth, and around the edges, any of those spots that could tear once you pull the silicone off. So we'll reinforce those with that second round. We're now gonna leave that for about 5 minutes, let it dry. Once it's dry, we can start on the next step. Okay, so what we're doing now, we're applying plaster bandages.
Once the goop part has settled, then it's pretty easy because then it's just the plaster strips, and you kind of know you're pretty safe at that point. So
the plaster bandages are going to form a shell around the silicone face mask, and that way the silicone can hold its shape, and we can keep it kind of protected, especially when we want to pour plaster and make a cast from that mold. If it's got that hard shell on the outside, you're not going to lose the shape. Going to maintain that correct shape of Aiden's face, which is awesome.
It's a little bit like being at the dentist. They're doing their thing and stay still and just put up with it until it's done.
So we're going to put some larger strips on first around the place, and then we're going to start doing some strips across his nose. We're going to do strips that go all the way across, larger bits around his neck, that kind of thing, just to bring it all together. Greg's helping me with this because it is a 2-person job, because you same as it was with the op bod. You need to get it done quickly because it does dry fast.
Bandages were a little bit more tricky than you think, because once they're wet, they kind of will fold up a bit, which is okay when you're doing the actual edge part of the seams, but it's not so great when you're just putting it on. So you have to, again, kind of, manipulate it a bit and make sure it gets flat and push it in a little bit. But once it's on the skin and on the actual silicone part, it's really good, and it sort of sits well, and it starts getting hard quick. And
but once you sort of get past the first half of the experience, I was able to meditate in a way. I just kind of got used to the feeling of not moving at all.
So we're going to layer all those layers. We're going to put strips across, let it dry a little bit, and then do another layer. So we're doing the seams. We've got to essentially put thicker strips around all the edges, down the front of the face, across, just to create some extra support to hold it in that shape. That's very important, just to have that support, especially around these edges, because that's where it's going to fray and that's where it's going to break if it's not there. So we're going to layer those in and get that nice and solid and secure. Now we're going to let that dry for a bit. Maybe put a bit of the hairdryer on it just to give it a little speed up. But otherwise, yeah, Aiden's still alive, so that's great.
In terms of feeling claustrophobic, no, I didn't really feel too bad with that, actually. Again, part of that was probably just trusting that, Vicky and Greg had my back.
So next step, we're at removal now.
And then just the ending part, we just want to make sure that's all going to come off all nice and easy, not pull out any of Aiden's hairs or his eyebrows or anything like that, or cause any extra pain.
One of the weird things is, I'm a big talker, so, Greg and Vicky having conversations the entire time. It's like an instinct to respond to these comments, but you just can't. There's nothing you can do. You just have to sit there in silence. That was a very, very difficult and strange thing for me.
So our first step we've got to do is we're going to take off the shell first, and that'll come away separate on its own. We'll pull that off cleanly, put that to the side, and then we've got to remove the silicone. So the best way to remove that silicone is to kind of run your finger sort of under the edges, just to lift it off of the skin and off of the hair, and it's come off quite nicely, which is great. So we're going to move our fingers around, and then we're just going to gently pull it forward and off, and there we go. Aiden's free. He's alive, he's breathing, and we've got a beautiful face mold out of that. And there we go.
Today was a very new experience. I've made it through the process alive, and that's the main thing. We did it.
So it was really good fun, and Vicky's lovely to work with, talked me through the whole process, and it all worked good.
Yeah, and it did take quite a long time. I'm going to need to do a few neck stretches. I was just sort of listening to Vicky's instructions the whole way, and we did it, and the face mask turned out the way it needs to. So yeah, I'm excited.
This is our final sort of thing. You can see there are a couple of holes, but we'll patch those up, no problem. And we'll put some little bits of silicone in his nose holes so that we can block off those nose holes, which we no longer need because the mask doesn't need to breathe. And yeah, you can see that hard shell on the outside that will keep it going. Looks a bit like the Invisible Man face. And yeah, I'll be able to make a cast of Aiden's face and make custom prosthetics that fit him specifically.
Yeah, cool.